Botox has only one benefit. It relaxes the muscles. SP+ has many benefits.
Welcome to Season 2 of Self-Care-ish. It's selfish with care. I'm Megan, your host, and each week I spend about 20 minutes to an hour unpacking different ways to fill your cup after a divorce, or if you're on a dating or self-dating journey. Either way, enjoy and let's get into it. Allow me to backtrack a little, because we've delved into some pretty heavy stuff this season. Toxic jobs, the male gaze, and yes, we've even waltzed through the thrilling, exciting, amazing world of mortgages. And wow, did I get a bunch of DMs about mortgages? Who knew talking about loans could be so damn riveting for people? But it turns out it's not sex that's the ultimate attention grabber. No. It is the sweet allure of cold, hard cash. But today I figured we could use a break from the weighty topics. And if you follow me on the gram, you're probably aware of my little secret for navigating this crazy, out of control world that we live in. And when everything feels like it is spiraling into utmost chaos, I like to retreat to my bathroom sanctuary. And what do I do there? Oh, well, buckle up, bucko, because it's very exciting. I like to embark on a mission to transform my makeup and skincare cupboard into a haven of order. I yank everything out. I dust off the cobwebs. I mop up makeup spills. I obliterate fingerprints, the whole shebang. I honestly, and this is embarrassing, in my mind, I pretend a magazine is about to drop by for one of those what's in my cupboard shoots, because nothing says sanity like pretending you're prepping for a surprise magazine feature in the midst of life's madness. I know. But this is how I fell down the skincare rabbit hole, specifically figuring out how to not just get bang for buck, but also be really intentional about the products that I have in my magazine-worthy cupboard. It's not a very pretty cupboard. I mean, the products are pretty, but the cupboard is not. And it's not about all designer brands. I have pharmacy finds next to my dermatologist recommendations, because I'm all about that balance, people. Which is why the topic around this episode is Botox, of which I am a proponent. I have been using Botox and its ilk since I was 26, and I'm 38 now, so that is a long time to be injecting botulism into your face. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Or there might be, we don't know. And doesn't that make it kind of fun, huh? Anyway, when I was sent the SP+Lift from Xaya Beauty, that's Xaya Beauty, I was told, this product is potentially better than Botox. And my face, if it could move, was a bit like, girl, really? Come on. And then when they said, plus, you can just add it to your current skincare routine, like just drop it into your moisturizer. And I literally was like that meme of Hillary Clinton when the balloons dropped down. Like my face was just like, what? It's the first time a skincare brand has actually tried to save me money and not said I had to get rid of my other products, but this actually integrates. And it got me curious, and it sent me down a bit of a rabbit hole of finding concentrated actives that can radically improve your skin without needing to spend $400 a quarter. Which brings me to today's guest, Annabelle Personeni, who has spent over a decade as a skincare chemist working for Johnson & Johnson, JS Health, and also Go-To Skincare. She knows her stuff so much that she's basically amalgamated all her decades of experience and distilled it into creating Xaya Beauty. So if you're ever wondering what does a skincare chemist actually put on their own skin, this is it. But the best part of this interview is Annabelle does not shy away from dropping truth bombs about skincare and the industry. You know, I just love me a candid conversation. But it's also just a really feel-good conversation too, so I hope you enjoy it. I promise that by the end of this interview, you are going to want to try the Xaya Beauty SP+Lift for yourself, which is why I have 2 Xaya Beauty bundles worth over $500 combined to give away. All you need to do is follow Xaya Beauty on Instagram, so that's Xaya Beauty, and then slide into my DMs, which I know you already love doing, and tell me your favorite self-care-ish activity that is something that you do for yourself that might be considered selfish, like me, who loves canceling plans. I know, I'm that person. I have social anxiety, I think. Anyway, enjoy. Annabelle, Personeni, thank you so much for your time. And I know you're incredibly knowledgeable. For the uninitiated people listening, do you mind just sharing a little bit of your credentials?
Sure, that can be a long one because I'm already quite late in my professional career, so I'm going to try and give you snippets. But I am a skincare formulator. So I have trained actually as a food engineer, which means that I come from a place of nutrition and making food. But then quickly, I didn't want to work in that area, and I moved into learning about extracting plant extracts. So all the good molecules that are in plants and how to extract them to use them in skincare. And from there, I went on to actually formulate skincare because I'm a creative person. I also love cooking. So making formulation is pretty much like cooking. And I have worked for a number of brands. So, such as Yves Rocher in France, so natural skincare. Then I came to Australia and worked for a number of years for Johnson & Johnson, which is more mainstream pharmaceutical-oriented, but extremely good with procedures and teaching you the right way of doing things, which is very important when you develop products that are going to be used on skin and basically can affect people's health. And I moved then on to natural brands like Akin, and I these days keep doing some of that for formulating, creating formulas for a number of brands that you probably have used and loved.
Given all that history in the industry, I guess it's not a huge stretch to be inspired to start your own beauty company. But could you share what was the moment when you went, okay, I need to do my own thing now?
Well, that's actually a bit tricky because it's something that we have struggled, my business partner and I, for a while because we don't want to put ourselves first. We usually are behind the scene, and the last thing I don't really want to be at the forefront of a brand or have my name there. But like many people who hop onto launching something, it's because they have identified that either something was missing or there was some recurring needs that they could perceive. So in our case, I think it's after 30 years of being in that industry, I'm that bored. People will ask questions and come back with always the same question, or and after a while you think, okay, well, maybe I could do something to help, or there's something where yeah, definitely I can see there's an avenue to provide people with products that would make their life better or easier.
Well, that makes total sense. And I guess I've done a lot of research on what you guys do, and I read something and I just knew I had to straight up ask you at the start of this interview. So you guys are the specialists in super concentrated skincare, and I just wanted to address the elephant in the room, which is Botox, or specifically not using Botox. One of your products is touted as the Botox without the Botox. So as someone who is, a little bit of a Botox addict, can you tell me a little bit about that?
In regard to Botox, I think, as you probably know, it's something that came up in the 2000s, the year 2000s, and very quickly people saw the interest in basically magically removing the wrinkles with injections. So Botox is a very effective way of basically blurring wrinkles and just smoothing them in a moment. I was reading recently, I think in Australia, it's like $350 million per year are spent on Botox, and 2.2 million search for Botox every month. People searching for Botox questions. So clearly, it's something that is on. There's a lot of use. I think I was reading that 6% of the Australians are using Botox, which is like 1 in 20 people turn around and yeah. So anyway, now the problem for Botox is it has moved from some kind of a cure, like a treatment to make your wrinkle disappear, to a preventative treatment. So people have started using Botox earlier and earlier, and they're also using Botox younger and younger and quite often because it becomes a habit. And now the problem is people forget that Botox is a botulism toxin. It's a toxin. So it's a poison in a way. If you take too much of it, you die. So the problem is that you find that by using it too early or too often, especially too early, it can actually damage the muscles of the face, and not so much damage them physically, but it's also weaken them. So, for instance, you know that if you are, I hope that you won't have that, but if you have an accident and you are in bed for a month, and suddenly all your muscles weaken because you don't use them, they thin down. And that is the thing that can happen to the muscles on your face as well. So if you do use your Botox too often, and I'm not talking here about the accident that happened when people actually inject too much, it damages the nerve, or this is the free aspect of surgery, which always can happen, but I'm more talking about the ongoing use of Botox. Can actually slowly weaken your muscles, thin them down because you won't use them. So, and the muscles are really what holds your face together. It gives the face structure. And so I think while it's a very good tool, and I haven't used it, but it's not something necessarily that I wouldn't use at some stage. It's not something that we should take lightly, I think, as all surgical procedure.
Oh, well, I have 3 products of yours here. Is it the SP+Lift? Is that the Botox without the Botox product? Just so I, put it in the front of my beauty cabinet.
Yes. So the way Spilentol works, and I think it's what makes it really interesting. It's something that the Spilentol is actually a really, really interesting molecule. So Spilentol is extracted from a little flower, and that little flower, so that ingredient Spilentol has a very large number of. It's a very active molecule that has a very large number of applications. It is an anesthetic, so people in South America would use it for sores on their teeth, but it's also a disinfectant, and it will. So the good benefit of Spilentol, it also interferes very temporarily with the micro muscles under your skin. So we're not talking about the big muscles that actually hold the face, but the micro muscles that actually under the skin just tighten a little bit and create the wrinkles. So by applying Spilentol on your skin, it relaxes those micro muscles and relaxes the wrinkles. So that's the first benefit. Botox has only one benefit. It relaxes the muscles. Botox has many, Spilentol has many benefits. It will smooth the wrinkles straight away, but also it actually stimulates the production of collagen. So after it's done the relaxing of the micro muscles, it will start activating the skin in producing collagen. So it has a long-term anti-age effect, if you like. Now, the third interest of Spilentol is it has been found to enhance the penetration of other actives. Now, that has been demonstrated on at least 3 actives. I think caffeine is one of them. So basically, if you mix Spilentol with another molecule, it can accelerate the penetration of that other molecule through the skin. Absolutely. So by adding a few drops of SP+Lift into your product, you're basically superpowering your product, if that makes sense. Yeah. And you will most likely increase the penetration of active through the skin.
I'm almost speechless because I've grown up in the generation that, you know, Botox is the gold standard and Botox is everything. But talking to you and having you say, no, Botox is great, but it does one thing. And then you've got this little bottle here that does three things. And not only three things, but actually adds to, improves your current skincare process. I love also that you're not saying to people throw out your current regimen and waste the product, and that your product, Xaya, is about being added in. I love that. No waste.
Absolutely. So you can add that to pretty much anything. And because there is no preservative, it will not interfere in a negative way, if you like, with the preservative. And it's something you're adding just before applying. It's not like I've seen a number of other do-it-yourself skincare where people are asked to put a number of things into a big jar, shake it, and then you're stuck with it for a month. You don't know what can happen during that month, even if it's preserved properly or anything. Whereas this, you can add just before you actually use on the skin, or you can layer. We recommend to mix it. So that's one of the things. So yeah, no, SP+Lift is one of my, I really, really love that product, and I actually use it for quite a few things.
Well, I also just want to say, and I will show people who are listening, I'll share it online. I really love your bottles because they look kind of like an injection or like a little syringe, like you take the cap off and then you stick it on. But it's not, obviously not a syringe, but it feels very medical. Was that intentional?
Well, actually, the syringe aspect of it is not a deliberate thing, but it's actually very interesting. No, the reason why we picked that packaging is because it's so easy to use. What we didn't want is some, droppers where you have to open the dropper because we ask people to mix with their skincare. So you put your skincare on your hand, and then you can just, tip the product and dispense 2 drops, and that's it. Whereas, it was the most convenient way to self-serve, if you like, in a clean way. And before you add the spout, the product is very well preserved, very safe until the moment you decide to activate it, if you like.
You know what? You've actually got me thinking because we talked a little bit before about beauty trends, and I'm absolutely sure you've seen a million trends go by. But what I've been pondering lately is the wider issue of trends in beauty and self-care. So on the surgical side, for example, we had the whole BBL thing, which has kind of gone out a little bit now. But what about in skincare? What kinds of trends have you seen that have come in and then just gone?
I've seen quite a few. I would say the first one that I encountered when I started my career in skincare was the AHAs, the the alpha hydroxy acids. So they,
Yep.
all the fruit acids and the glycolic acid and all of that. So back in the 80s, I would probably been 85, 90s. That's where it was a wave, incredible. It was everywhere, and people were using it in very large quantities. It was in every single product. The problem is that we're talking about exfoliation, and so basically it's like scrubbing your face pretty much every day with acid. So that was a bit extreme, but everything in the 80s was a bit extreme. And so that went. Thank God now we are using acids in a slightly more, except if you're having a peeling, we can use acids in a slightly more rational way, and also only for spot treatments, which is probably as safe. Then we saw in the 90s was the whitening for white people. And I say that because there has always been some product being sold for people of color who wanted to lighten their skin, rightfully or not. But in the 90s, we saw white people wanting to actually be fairer because it was a sign of youth and some kind of making the spots disappear, which I think fairer was more in regards to the age spots than the actual complexion, although yellowing as you age, your skin yellows. And there was actually an interesting study a while ago where people just by the color of the skin, so the same face was used and the skin color was adjusted, and people could actually rate the age of the person based just on the yellowness of the skin. So the younger you are, the less of yellow tone you have. And I'm talking about Caucasian skin here, so white people's skin. So that also caused a number of excesses. 2000s were the Botox. I don't think we are over that trend yet, and that's 25 years later. And then I think in 2010 we saw the social media beauty, which is like bold brows and big lips enhancements. That's also probably hasn't gone yet. Then you had the rise of Korean skincare and the sheet masks. The sheet masks that in a way enhance the penetration of the actives, but what a disaster that is for the environment, I have to say. Every sheet mask comes with a number of sheets and then is wrapped in packaging just for a single use. So that's so that's a few of the crazes that I have seen during my time. And we have a say in French that says you should have to be healthy and live longer. You should have a little bit of everything in moderations, which means that don't go in any way for excess. Like even when you diet, it's actually better to have not ban any type of food, but just have a little bit of everything that makes you happy. Just don't go overboard in any way. And I think for skincare, it should be the same.
Actually, that reminded me to ask you, when I was first sent your product, I noticed that you had a whole lot of information around which products of yours would be ideal for women with perimenopause, which I am right in the thick of at the moment, getting close to 40. Now, please excuse my layman brain, but we've got like actress Naomi Watts with her menopause focused skincare brand, and then we've got you guys with your perimenopause focus. Is that a trend? Why is everyone talking about menopause skincare at the moment? Is it real? Is it something that we all just ignored until now? What's the deal?
No, I don't think it's a trend, and I thankfully it's not a trend. I hope not, because the big I think it probably comes because our age group is that age that has grown with the development of real skincare, which thanks to chemistry and now biotechnology really started like since the 70s. We're still pretty much putting butter on your face, and after that, thanks to the chemistry, a lot more ingredients got created with skincare that is actually very performing most of the time when you put the right amount of actives in your skincare. So I think the needs of that generation of women are now being acknowledged. There's also much less shame about talking about those things. Like everything, sexual health now is maybe talked about too much sometimes, but it's a good thing in a way that we have removed that shame. I mean, my mom never talked to me about menopause ever. Like, it's not something we would have a conversation about, whereas it's something I talk about with my kids. Not every day, but often. I've got girls as well. I think, and also more research is being done on hormones and the beneficial or detrimental effect on the skin. So I think a lot of research is being done, and the needs of women around that age are finally recognized and addressed, and that's a great thing, I think.
Well, as a woman who's going into her 40s, and it is an interesting time. I've still got a couple years up my sleeve, guys, but still. What are some products that you recommend just if someone like came up to you at a party? What are the absolute must-have products you tell them that they need to have in their 40s?
It's interesting because people come to me at parties all the time. When people identify that this is my job, and that's why actually we're going to come back to that later, but that's why that was exactly the idea behind Xaya. So let's come back to that. But I say generally in skincare, defense is the best attack. So prevention, but not in the sense of doing treatments before they're needed, but more protecting the skin. So protection is the key thing. And I'm not just talking about sunscreen, because for instance, although I'm very aware that sun damage is real, and especially in Australia, I don't wear sunscreen every day unless I go out, because sunscreens it's a bit like a medication. The grade and the concentration and I know what I'm saying today is not, I'm going to make enemies for that, but that's my own conviction. The ingredients in skincare, unless you use absolutely only mineral sunscreen, but that's ugly and it's really thick and it's very difficult to apply and have a good face with it. They're full of ingredients that can be quite toxic. But because of the damage that the sun can cause, if you go out in the sun, it's better to, it's like when you take a medication, there could be side effects. But the main thing is you cure what you have, what the problem you have. Sunscreen is the same. The big danger is the sun. So if you go out in the sun, you protect yourself and you try and minimize the side effects of possibly issues with your sunscreen. So that's why I personally don't wear sunscreen unless I'm going out in the sun. But what I do actually use a lot is skincare that has a lot of antioxidants. So antioxidant-rich skincare is the best thing you can do. And really, like all your vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, extract like rosemary, like all those, something like rosehip oil, they have a lot of antioxidants in them, and they create a natural barrier if you want between your skin and the external world. So if anything, moisturize with antioxidants, and at the end of the day, cleansing. And I'm not talking about triple cleanse. I think triple cleanse, again, is a way to sell you more products. So again, I'm going to make enemies here. I would say, unless you are an actor, or like if you're blogging, you probably put a little bit more makeup on that you would if you go and do your shopping on a Saturday morning at home, right? So if you do use more makeup, or if you do use sunscreen, yes, a double cleanse is probably can be a good idea. But for most people, every day, just a simple cleaning. It's better to do simple cleaning than keep cleaning altogether.
Okay, wait, actually, I have to ask, is it bad? One of the things I do that experts always say is really bad is I get in the shower, I put the cleanser on my face, and then I just run my face under the shower, like while I'm, soaped up. Is that really bad? Do I need to do it over the sink?
I do that too. It's the best way. You're like, why would you, like, if you can make your life easier, save a few minutes to it that way. Like the thing is, when you do that though, you come out of the shower and you realize you've got like panda eyes because your mascara has run everywhere. So I usually finalize the cleansing once I'm out of the shower. But now I do exactly the same. It's so much more convenient.
Oh well, yeah, I do actually often end up double cleansing because I still end up with mascara all down my face. So yeah, there you go. I'm double cleansing. Okay, one thing I wanted to ask that might have a controversial answer, so forgive me for asking, but the beauty industry has a lot of snake oil treatments, or is known to have a lot of snake oil treatments. What would you say is the snake oil these days?
Okay, so that again is indeed a tricky question. So yeah, and so in regard to snake oil, now you are touching on an interesting topic here. So I wouldn't say actually there's different types of snake oils, but there's a number of issues with skincare in general. In Australia, for instance, no, I'm going back one step. Now, I know because I actually see ingredient suppliers come to me all the time, and I go to conferences and I listen to new ingredients being put on the market and the clinical test and what the ingredients do. Now, those ingredients are amazing. They often come with very good data, either on skin cells or skin explants or even on actual skin, on people who have tried them. And they do amazing things. Now, the problem is in Australia, I mean, in the world in general, but in Australia, you cannot say anything about what the product does under the skin. All you can say is that the moisturizer looks after the appearance of the skin. But you're not allowed to say that this active is going to stimulate collagen or that penetrates and does this to the cells, because it becomes a TGA, like a therapeutic claim. So there's a number of things that you cannot say. And because of that, it is very difficult to talk about the efficacy of a product without going into a territory that's therapeutic, if that makes sense. So that means that we don't really know, and we can't always have all the data. You can't actually share those data with the consumers. That means that because there is no real data and you can't really share them, a number of people can actually put on the market some products that don't do much. Or they will put products on the market that don't actually have enough of the good things to make them work. So, and it's difficult. You cannot tell from a label if the ingredients that you need or that are supposed to do, the anti-recall efficacy, for instance, if they are in the product at the right level. And that's one of the difficult things. So more recently, some brands have actually started to put, for instance, The Ordinary will give you a bottle with contain X% of that active. The problem is in doing so that you don't always know how much should be used. As a consumer, you don't really know how much should be used, how much will be at a good level on your skin. So that's another trick. Or a brand can actually say contains blah, 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 blah. Only one is at the level that will actually do something, which is good. The other ones are more like fillers and might be there just to tell you, to basically increase the appeal. So I'm not like a lot of brands do the right thing, and then it's also always a cost related thing because skincare is expensive. Those actives are generally quite expensive, and so it's difficult. I think establishing a relationship of trust with the consumers and sharing as much as you can is ideal, but it's a difficult line that skincare brands are walking. They can't claim much because legally they're not allowed to.
And this is why, Annabelle, you've got to come right out into the public eye as much as you don't want to be front and center of the brand. But I can see having you as the face of it really does give Xaya that credence because you're a chemist.
I'm trying not to be too much in the face of it. Sorry.
Yeah, I have to, because I think, listening to you talk about the brands that go, well, it's got this, this, and this in it, but really only a tiny bit of it is the active that works, is really interesting. And is that why you went down the road of super concentrated skincare?
So what we did for this one, and again, I really want to reiterate that most brands do the right thing because it's important. And I think there's a lot of really great brand and founder out there. So please, I don't want to say this is something that I'm very careful of, and especially because I work with a number of really good brands who actually always told me, please put the active at the level where they work, because otherwise what's the point, right? So the reason what we've created here is we're creating concentrates that are easy for people to use. We guarantee that the actives are at 10 times the recommended level. So I'm giving you an example. The person who has created the extract with spilentol, for instance, will tell me you need to add 0.1% of spilentol in your cream to make it work, to have the effect, the anti-age effect, and so on. So we actually put 10 times more in the bottle, because when you, in your bathroom, are going to use a few drops into your moisturizer, you're going to dilute it by 10. That makes sense. So we'll give you something that's 10 times concentrated, because when you do 2 drops onto your pea-size moisturizer, it's a dilution by 10. So you are going to use the right level, no guesswork, by just using 2 drops per pea-size. You are using the active at the right level. And we are basing the concentration on clinical tests that have been provided to us by the creator of the ingredient, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense. And I'm glad you've done it. Now, I know we're really short on time, but I just have a few more questions to ask you. And I wanted to go back a little bit on the trends angle and speaking more about emotional attitudes to women's approach to skincare, because you notice how in the 2000s it was all about makeup, and now everyone is very conscious of their skin and how to look after it. How do you see the connection of well-being, self-care, and skincare at the moment? And how did it happen, do you think?
It is so interconnected. Like, everybody knows how skin health affects mental health. Like, talk to a young, teenager with acne, and they ask them how it affects their self-confidence and their well-being. And it's in the same way when you're ill, or when you actually go through rough times. We're talking about separation, grief. Straight away, the skin shows it. Did you know, for instance, that in the fetus, when the egg is fertilized, the same group of cells split and create the skin and the nervous system. So the nervous system and the skin come from the same original cells, if you like, and both of them are extremely interconnected. And also, the face, the skin, is our armor. It is also the first thing we actually present to the world. And self-care, looking after our skin, looking after us, is the first step, I would say, to self-care. It's respecting ourselves, if you like, retouching our body, rediscovering who we are. It's the first step in the morning. You're naked in front of your mirror. You see you, no makeup. And if you don't love that person, it's the first step. It's the first step to self-love, I would say.
It's so beautiful. I love it. Actually, speaking of going through a tough time, this is also a divorce podcast as well as a self-care podcast. So do you have any advice for anyone going through a breakup or getting divorced who's looking to establish a self-care routine through beauty practices? You've worked in the industry for so long. Like, if someone is getting divorced in your friend group, like, what do you suggest to them?
So I haven't myself gone through divorce, but a few of my friends have, and it's a really difficult time. And I would say the temptation could be to run to the first, cosmetic surgery clinic, get the fillers, the lip enhancers, to try to make yourself look like the person you think your partner wanted, or maybe that your partner has run away with. And I would say it's a race behind. You're going to race behind something that is unattainable, if you like. And I think probably coming back to who we are, and as I said, looking at yourself, learning to love the person that is in front of you in the mirror. And sometimes, and I think when we're talking about menopause, it can be something that's actually difficult, because you can wake up in your 35, 40s, 45s, 50s sometimes when it happens, and the person you see in front is not the person. You've lost touch with that person. You've forgotten how that person has aged. You may still have that young girl in your mind. You've got to learn to really love that person. So probably going back to basics, touching, massage, like either you go and get massages, being touched by other people, but also learning to, applying your moisturizer and actually learning to discover your face, that little wrinkle, the wrinkle you were frowning after your kids or whatever, all those little marks on your face is your story. And I think you've got to learn to be proud of that. And I'm not talking about letting everything go, you want to keep loving the appearance of the person in front of you. So you do have to do a bit of work, but it doesn't have to be drastic. It doesn't have to transform you. It's about refining yourself.
That is so beautiful and true. I actually use your Gold C, vitamin C, in the morning with my moisturizer, and then I get my gua sha and like what you said about touching, and I gua sha and massage my face, and I find it to be such a soothing ritual at night. So yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Well, in fact, massage, simply massaging your skin, whether it's the face or the places where you've got a little bit too much plump, like buttocks and things, or bottom and things, by massaging, you actually stimulate collagen production. So massaging your face with an oil is actually a good way to enhance the collagen production in the deeper layers of your skin.
Ooh, that's a good tip. I love that. All right, now we're getting to the pointy end, and I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite active skincare ingredient? So apart from the SP+Lift, which is a new one, is there one that's just so iconic for you?
Well, in fact, the three products we have launched are, for us, the three that are the most important in regard, but I would say probably ceramides and oils. So I'm saying oils in general, because the skin barrier is probably the most crucial element of your skin health. So a good oil, even it can be just olive oil, but something that really protects your skin in regard to water evaporation, making sure that that surface of the skin is well looked after. It is, for me, the most important ingredient. It's, again, prevent. It's better to prevent and look after what you've got. Sometimes you can use active for stimulation of, repair, stimulation of collagen and things like that, but really making sure that your skin is always the skin barrier is well maintained.
Well, that's an amazing tip. The one with the olive oil? Wow. Okay. Well, we are at my last question, and then I'll release you back to your work. And I'm trying to do this new thing with every interview. Because this is a self-care-ish podcast, as in selfish with care, can you tell me what's something you do that's just for you that might be considered a little selfish? Like for me, I love canceling plans to go out last minute and then just staying home and having a bath or something. What's yours?
Well, for me, I'm also an artist, and it's really I can disappear for hours and practice my art, and it's something that is I just do for myself. I'm in the flow. I have, by my age, I've given. I know everybody gives. Like my husband does give a lot to everybody, and I give a lot. As a mother, as a wife, we are often giving the time to others before to us. And to me, the same way you cancel your appointment or you're going out, just preserving that time. I think time is the most precious thing we can have. And selfishly, sometimes, I can disappear I go to my studio like at 4:00, and 10 p.m. I'm still there doing my own thing. And I just want to hear about anybody. I lock the door. Don't come and disturb me. This is me time, complete me time.
Wait, that's beautiful. What kind of art do you do? Is it watercolors? Is it oil paints? That's so cool.
Well, I paint. I've done illustration, but it's mostly painting, oil painting, and recently I've gone into doing ceramics, and I love the interaction with the clay. It's like we're talking about the touch, the tactile aspect of it. It's just you're just one with what you do, and I think when you draw, when you paint, you lose yourself because you are so concentrated on looking that you become one with your environment, and you just lose yourself, if you like. And that's a beautiful feeling when you practice. I suppose someone who plays music would feel the same. It's creativity is a good way of losing yourself and finding yourself in the process.
I actually think that relates really well to what you were saying around skincare and the touching, and there's no right or wrong way to put it on your skin or touch your face. It's how you put it on. It's how you apply it. And I think that's really beautiful. And Well, Annabelle, thank you. You're released. I feel like I have so many golden nuggets of knowledge now, thanks to you. And I could chat to you for hours, so I really look forward to coming up to you at a party one day and asking you all the annoying skincare questions.
Yes, absolutely. Would love to see you visit us in our lab, and I really thank you as well, because you are extremely thoughtful, and your questions have caused me to really look into think things a bit further. And it's a very good. It was a very good experience. Thank you very much.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. Seriously, thank you. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity.
And that's that. Botox is great, but not the be-all and end-all. And Jennifer Lopez is right, and olive oil can make a difference to your skin texture over 40. And the most important thing is to love the skin you're in. Speaking of, I asked Annabelle and the team at Xaya how I could give a little something back to you guys. And so Xaya Beauty has offered 2 bundles of their skincare program worth over 500 combined dollary dues to self-care-ish listeners. And that means you. So all you need to do is follow Xaya Beauty on Instagram. It's Xaya Beauty if you haven't already. And then slide into my DMs at Megan Lonergan telling me your favorite self-care activity, not just beauty related, just anything you love to do that's for you. Again, that's Xaya Beauty and Megan Lonergan. All the links will be in the show notes. Good luck, and looking forward to hearing from you. And I'll see you next week.